So just to give you an idea of the metaverse, where the word came from, it was a book in the early 90s when the internet was just launched. We had an author called Neil Stephenson, a sci-fi author, who came up with the word metaverse and used it in his book called Snow Crash. It's a novel about an immersive virtual realm that's accessed by sporting VR goggles. So the world is getting more digital, more decentral, and more virtual as we speak. There's more happening in the world every day, from ChatGPT completely turning content creation on its head, and then yesterday Google came out with their competitor to that called Bard. We're seeing this day in and day out, how everything is changing. So just from just to go through the history of the internet, you're looking at Web 1, which was read-only, and we're all familiar with Netscape. We used to have this on our computers at that point, and this is before Microsoft Explorer and Chrome and everything came out. Netscape was one of the first ones, and everyone's familiar with Facebook, which was Web 2, where you can actually exchange information. Now, Web 3, and an example, Decentraland, is where you can actually own the information. You can own assets. So it's not just read, write, it's also own. Some of the triggers for Web 3 that will help in the adoption would be, the gaming industry, because as of 2022, 50% of all transactions on the blockchain were through the gaming industry, through some game or the other, cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And it's also, a lost trust in platform companies. And one thing that we really believe in is the global communities. So with Crypto Oasis, we're building the ecosystem for Web3, but what we're also doing is we're also creating a community, a consumer to consumer community that's called art. And that is one of the things that is missing from other industries, because this community is really close. And right now, because we haven't taken over the entire pie, everyone's out there to support and help each other. Some of the accelerators for this would be 5G and edge computing, which would help us, with a higher speed of data. Digital art, collectible NFTs. This has been the rave, from the Bored Apes to Clone X and Pudgy Penguins, and lately the Moonbirds. And it would be an improvement of supply chain resilience. So what is the metaverse? Everyone says it, different. It's like when you're looking at the internet. When you're going to ask a developer, what is the internet? He's going to show you all the code. If you're going to ask me, what is the internet? I'm going to take you to a website or try and explain how, servers are connected. But if you ask my mom, she's just going to pick up her phone and tell you that this is the internet. So there's a lot of different explanations. But for me, the metaverse is this digital world that lives alongside our physical one and allows us to live, work, and play alongside each other. And digital twins are the foundation that the metaverse will be built on. This is a quote by David Ware McCall, one of the people behind Epic Games. So looking at, the hype cycle for emerging tech, I'm sure most of you have seen this. It's the innovation trigger where it starts, the peak of inflated expectations, and then it falls down when, things don't work according to what you want, which is the trough of disillusionment, and then the slope of enlightenment, moving on to the plateau of productivity. All products or all hypes go through this cycle. And when we look at this, we can see that, on the top right, the NFTs are just coming down from the peak of inflated expectations, where if you go back a year, everyone was going completely crazy about buying NFTs and flipping them. This was a business model people actually used to earn money. They would buy NFTs and go and sell them immediately at a higher return. And when we look at the metaverse is just, it's just past the innovation trigger. There's still so much happening in this space that we haven't even got to the top of the cycle. Now, just looking at the hype cycle for Web3, Metaverse is still before everybody else. It's still before, Oracles, before Web3, before layer twos. But it still has a long way to go before it reaches the peak of inflations expectations. And one of the reasons for this, the way I look at it, is there's three reasons. The first reason is that we do not have the quality. Like if you put on VR goggles right now and try and exploring metaverses, it's not really the quality that we're used to. And by used to, I mean like anyone that's played Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption or even GTA, we're used to a certain kind of quality to games and experiences that the metaverse has not yet provided. They're on the way, but they haven't yet provided them. The second is that the hardware is not in that place. Even now, we have to, buy bulky devices that don't let you do anything else. You have to put on your VR headsets, and you can only use them for a short amount of time before, it starts getting to you. And the third is the amount of adoption, because we're still waiting. I know that the Oculus has come from Meta, and Apple is coming out with their VR headset. We're still waiting for wide-stream adoption. It still hasn't hit the scale of, like mobile phones. It still hasn't hit the scale of AirPods, for example, or the PlayStation, where it becomes a commodity that everybody has. So these three things are still pending for the metaverse to continue its spike. So in another way of explaining the metaverse, it's a network of linked virtual worlds overlapping with physical realities that facilitates an immersive experience to meet, interact, and transact without geographical boundaries. Now, just for explanation, we're going to look at three different verses. You've got the metaverse, you've got the multiverse, and you've got the omniverse. The metaverse is the first ever digital reality, and this is something that you might have seen in movies like Tron and Ready Player One. It's a collection of virtual spaces where people can interact with each other and create new experiences. You can create digital avatars that are close to your own physical embodiment, or just cartoonish, or like Minecraft or Roblox. And the difference is it's not limited to just a device or a screen. It can be incorporated in a lot of immersive ways around you: sight, sound, feeling. Lately, Tesla came out with an entire suit that will help you feel sensations in the metaverse. The next one is the multiverse, which is, it's a collection of multiple universes, each with their own set of laws and rules. Users can interact with each other, but they can only perform one activity at a time. And these ecosystems are largely isolated, and they're most, it's Web 2. And it's Web 2 is similar to the multiverse system, where you have a lot of siloed platforms that are disconnected from each other. I can take a picture from Facebook to Instagram to LinkedIn to Twitter, but I cannot have all of them function together. There is a certain element that does, where if I put a post up on LinkedIn, it'll go on Twitter. If I put a post up on Instagram, it can go on Facebook, but there isn't any other connection. I can't connect Facebook and LinkedIn together. Now, the last one, the omniverse, is the sum of all universes. It's something physical. It's, it can be imagined as well, but it's both. It's real and imagined. It includes everything from universes to parallel to fictional to everything. So all our thought processes in metaverses or multiverses, they don't have to be finite. They're both man-made concepts. But the omniverse is a natural concept. It's everything or any dimension that you can interact in. So looking at estimated metaverse use cases among consumers and businesses worldwide, people have said that 25% of the research, the data over here is from Statista, that people who will spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse for work, shopping, education, social, or entertainment in the coming years. Whereas 30% of the data is about organizations who will have products and services ready for the metaverse. And this is like by 2026. So by 2026, 30% of organizations will have products, and 25% of people would essentially spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse for work, shopping, education, or entertainment. So metaverse applications where value is created and monetized, like gaming generation is the foundation. Infrastructure is built now, and where investments are done, and business applications built on top of these are essentially going to be the future revenue cases. So looking at it in layers, let's start with the enablers. The enablers for this technology to become more widespread would be, security, privacy, and governance. So security, identity, and data governance, privacy, and content moderation platforms. Identity platforms that can manage digital identity, avatars, and social graphs, and payments and monetization. So platforms and tools that enable the metaverse economy, so that you can purchase items, you can sell items, you can own assets. Above that would be the infrastructure and hardware, which is devices, OS, accessories, what Apple's coming out with soon, the Oculus and Huawei has devices. And then the infrastructure, which is, across cloud, semiconductors, networks, and, we spoke about 5G before, where the technology required to take it to the level that we need to, to have a completely proper experience. Above that would come on platforms, which help with, access and discovery platforms that facilitate distribution and discovery of content, experiences, browsers, visual content, app stores. And this would, right now, if you see Apple's latest press release, they already started creating a huge number of apps that would work in their VR headsets, whereas PlayStation's come out with their VR that's coming, that will aid in this movement as well. And the most important aspect of this would be, the adoption and not adoption of consumers, but you're looking at businesses where creators, 3D development platforms, like having the sets and tools for them to be able to build 3D experiences, design, game engines, AI services, creator tools, all that is required to create the product on the platforms. And then the final one, which is going to be what we interact with as consumers, would be content and experiences. Content where, it enriches the metaverse experience, including first-party content, developer content, creator content, and applications that lead to collaborations, to events, to industry-specific applications. And finally, virtual worlds, environments where a large number of users can gather, interact, create, and move in and out of different experiences. We've all heard of Travis Scott's concert in the metaverse. We're doing an event on the 2nd of March where we're doing the event live and in the metaverse. So there's a huge amount of content that can be created, experiences that can be created in such an environment. So what would be the basic set of metaverse applications? You're looking at 6 different categories: infotainment, product design, community management, virtual business, gaming, and virtual assets. So if we take infotainment, you're looking at virtual exhibitions, virtual classrooms. I did a course in metanomics with the Zhejiang University in China, and that entire thing took place in the metaverse. Like, I put on a VR headset and I had an avatar where I could interact with the professor and even ask questions and write on the board. Socializing, onboarding, to give you a simple example of onboarding, is instead of having to watch a video, I could have you walk through a complete experience of how a product would function. Next, product design, digital twinning, which is if you're here in Dubai, recently someone came and created a digital twin of Burj Khalifa. People are working on Dubai Mall. People are working on different areas. We've got Pulse that's been working on C'est La Vie. We're working on Cove Beach. So the digital twins is you can experience things firsthand, but taking it a step back and being able to experience it from a completely different corner of the world, that's one of the things that digital twinning can help with. But in real estate, it's got a huge amount of applications that if a property isn't ready, I don't necessarily need to, be on, like, I don't have to be on site to be able to see the model. I can put on my VR and walk through a virtual render of the asset, and I can create buildings and, like in portals. Previously in my work in Property Finder, what we spoke of, we didn't develop it at a point, but having a listing, and instead of having to go with an agent to go and view the property, you could essentially just sit at home and go and walk through the entire property. Taking that a step further to architecture, architects don't have to necessarily make models and show them. You could literally create the building and show them what it would look like. Interior designers, instead of having to do renders, they could take a virtual space that you own and create a design, and instead of just looking at pictures which are two-dimensional, you could put it on and walk through and look how the sofa or the painting looks in your house. Then community management, virtual client meetings, virtual marketing events, fairs, recruiting. There's a company called Recruun that's being taken care of, or it's being accelerated, incubated by TDFi, that is going to very soon be hosting a complete job fair in the metaverse. And it also helps with brand loyalty and brand positioning. Over here, I'd like to take a step back and bring the conversation of NFTs into this as well, because what people don't realize is every time you buy an NFT, you exchange crypto and you get an asset, a non-fungible token as it's known. It's essentially a Trojan horse, because now you've dropped an item into someone's wallet, and that helps you communicate with them whenever you want, essentially, until they get rid of that asset. And if you have a good product, they're going to keep it forever, and you have that open channel to your consumer until then. And with the metaverse, it's, there's only so much that you can do in the real world right now. But in the metaverse, you can create completely immersive experiences. Imagine a car launch where instead of having it on, Earth, you can make it seem like it's happening in the middle of the desert, on top of a lake, on the moon. It doesn't let, and coming from a consumer psychology or marketing background, this kind of brand positioning, you're limited in real life, whereas the metaverse and NFT, they offer you a completely blank slate where your imagination is the only hurdle. Virtual businesses, customer services, public services, virtual tourism, commerce, all of these things would be possible through the metaverse. And then to my favorite, gaming, multiplayer gaming, play to earn, play and earn, fitness. There's so many applications that are helping you with this immersive experience, but also gamifying it, also being a game so you can actually enjoy it. Virtual assets, that's the NFT part, tokens, property ownership, property brokerage, being able to just recently, Scottie Pippen, one of the guys with Michael Jordan on the Red Bulls team in the late 90s, he recently with Orange Comet released 1,000 sneakers, SP33. And now, because I own a certain number of assets, I can use them in any metaverse that I go to that is compatible. And I have them as an asset that I own, so nobody else can have that pair. It's a unique pair. And out of those 1,000, 33 of them actually got the real sneaker. So, that gamification can be, further translated into NFTs and experience and brand loyalty, because now he's not just a face on Telegram or on Twitter or Instagram. You've got an asset that he's created, and there's a complete communication with him and the community that he's built around him. So looking at the dimensions of the metaverse, you look at it in two different aspects. You're looking at it in hi-fi and you're looking at it in lo-fi, which is, I would say, in terms of quality and how closed it is and how open it is. And if you're looking at Axie Infinity, it's, medium quality, relatively open. Sandbox is a little higher quality, relatively open. But then when you're looking at World of Warcraft and Fortnite, it's not open to all. You need to have the game, you need to be able to play the game, you need to be able to have the assets in this entire space. And now we're looking at the different kinds of realities that we can be a part of. We're looking at virtual reality, which is a complete immersion into the environment, which the Oculus, right? That's one of them. And then you're looking at augmented reality that you can access through your phone, that you can access through a picture. And then you can bring both of these together into mixed reality. Now, when we're looking at VR, immersion into virtual worlds, total interaction with the virtual, and a device in that space would be the Oculus. Then we look at augmented reality, which is virtual on top of reality. It's limited interaction with the virtual, but you can have it in your environment. Smartphones, tablets, we can all do this with our phones. And then you come to mixed reality, which is the virtual world integrated into reality. It's the easiest example is taking the phone and putting it on your eyes so you don't have to hold it, right? It's the interaction between reality and virtual. And devices like this would be like the Microsoft HoloLens. Now, taking this a step further, which is really, really cool, right? It's actually having this integrated into your body, which is a lens. So the Mojo lens, which here's a news article about it. It's a lens that can actually help you with virtual reality. It's literally like the movies. It's like Minority Report, where you don't need to have something placed on your head. You don't need to have a phone. You don't need to put on a VR. It's literally you put on the lens and everything around you becomes mixed reality. You can have your news on one side. You can have a video playing on another. You can have a call going on in this. So it's not science fiction anymore. It's all of these things slowly are becoming reality. Everything from Isaac Asimov's books from Star Trek, slowly all of them are coming to become reality. Now, just a little bit of data again from Statista. A share of adults joining or considering joining the metaverse for various reasons. 74% of them have considered it. 41% of them want to experience things they can't in the physical world, which is one of the reasons I did. When first the PlayStation VR came out, the reason that I got it was because I could be Batman. And literally they designed it in a way where you played as Batman. And then I think it could be a positive way to unite people. 38% think that. 28% want to escape their physical surroundings. And this takes it to another step where meditation with a completely immersive environment becomes a big deal. And to communicate with others in the space, 40%. It's we're in a social world, so that makes complete sense. Educational opportunities, 28% of them see that. And want to become a different person other than their real self, 23%, which is where the avatars and the cartoons and the pixelated avatars come into play. But everything is positive and great, but there is a negative angle to it as well, right? Which is why it needs to be done carefully, which is why there needs to be regulations, there needs to be standards, there needs to be all kinds of rules set in place so that it doesn't take you into the wrong side of it. Like addiction to simulated reality. Digital use can bring escape and relief from stresses, but it's only temporary pleasure. VR gaming addiction tendencies. Simulated reality leaves the player isolated without real human interaction, even though you're interacting with avatars. These are some of the problems that you could deal with. Privacy issues, like metaverse platforms carry all the risks of the current internet, where you can still get hacked, still your information could be taken. Data can be harvested, you know, you could be profiled, and then security levels are, there are security levels that have come in, like, you know, like incognito mode, where people don't know who you are. And mental health, like human engagement and connections, we are all herd animals, right? So the human element is important, and VRs, it takes you a step further back into being reclusive, because you're doing the interactions, but it's not really with the, you know, like a physical human. And excessive digital use is associated with, well, many mental health issues, including depression, stress, and, you know, other issues. And virtual reality is also used in the treatment of various mental health issues. And there is a positive side to it as well, where PTSD can be helped with this, phobias, because you can put people in an environment that would essentially scare them, but because it's virtual, they can start getting used to it. Anxiety disorders is helps cool you down with the whole meditation and things like that. So there's a positive and a negative, and we need to take both of them into account when we're moving forward. Now, I'd spoken about digital twins, and what I'd like to you know, bring up is that there's 5 different ways that I see, or that I'd like to speak about, where we can actually have digital twins and the use cases of those in the metaverse. You know, starting with manufacturing, you can create virtual copies of entire workshops and plants. Mercedes has already done this. You can identify and visualize production processes, and even in you know, in construction, you have the AutoCAD, you've got BIM. You can stand, walk through, visualize all of it. You can design, manufacturer, process, and maintain a production process more efficiently through the use of this technology. In automotives, you can build virtual models before construction of physical models. You can feed real-time data into vehicles that are created. You can identify and judge the overall performance and features of the vehicle under different circumstances. You can put in the code where it reflects exactly what would be, you know, the impact of an outside action on the vehicle. In retail and e-commerce, you know, that's just, you know, like creating a copy of a mall. Just, you know, you can have a paired twin of the customer. You can have sizes. You can go and look at what that kind of cloth or that kind of shoe would look like on your avatar. You can shop in the virtual space, where the data is updated in real time, where it's connected to the supply chain, so that, you know, this object is available. Like, just imagine, like, you know, like half the reasons I go to Carrefour is because I want to see everything that's there, and sometimes I only need to go in for a bottle of milk, but I come back with a huge amount of other things that I don't need. Why? Because I see them and I find a need for them in my life. But if I could just sit at home and I would be able to see all of this in real time, what's available, those kind of shoppings would become much easier. And, you know, combining the convenience of shopping from home and being able to try and test the products, this would take this to a completely different level. Next one, industrial IoT. This can help monitor, track, and control systems before they're put into place permanently. Machine supplies real-time data to identify the operation output and identify potential flaws in the system. Smart architecture is another one, where you can develop construction projects, mapping out a complete city's area and managing resources, you know, optimally. We're still doing this. You must have seen train stations with their entire grids laid out on the wall. But now imagine this in an immersive experience where this is all that you're doing. You can look and visualize how a city's areas can be used, you know, effectively, put different models in and see how they work and how they perform. And you can predict and manage carbon footprints. So, you know, so what, like, what's in it for us? Well, soon an organization without Web3 capabilities and a metaverse presence might be in existence for a certain community. Like, you know, nowadays it's anyone that does not have an Instagram or does not have a website, they're completely unknown. Like, I wouldn't know half the restaurants in Dubai if they weren't on my phone. We've become more and more adept and more dependent on everything being online. So when someone isn't, it's very difficult for them to reach you. Like, I could turn around and ask you, what was the last ad you saw on the road? And you'd probably tell me one of those on Sheikh Zayed Road, right? But having complete and constant access to you on your phone, on TV, before a YouTube video, like all those modes of advertising, or me being able to find out which restaurants are close to me, which hotel is closer, where can I send my kids to the nursery, where is the closest basketball court. All that information is now with us because of the internet. It's because we've leveraged the capabilities of Web 2. And slowly, as I said before, like 30% of the organizations by 2026 are looking at having this presence. Some things might only be accessible through the metaverse. And if you're not there, you might not be able to access it. But there's another aspect to this, like if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. The metaverse is not a solution for each and everything that's going, because there's also the entire bandwagon effect, and that goes into NFTs as well, where everyone just wants to jump on it because that's the Baskin-Robbins flavor of the month. So some of the key success factors in the adoption of the metaverse is, like having an appropriate application. Why should your community consume your metaverse presence? What is the added value that being in the metaverse is bringing to you? Second, community engagement. Which platform is your community? How can they be, motivated to onboard? Is it the right thing for your community? Having a suitable platform. Is the performance on all selected devices okay? Like what you've created, does it work on, all devices? Is it supported? How expensive is it? And then at the end is your operating model, like who's maintaining, who's updating your virtual presence, who's supporting your clients. Like all four of these are important for any organization that goes into the metaverse. It's you need to think of these in advance instead of jumping into it and then, figuring out how and what you do as you go along. So that's it from my end for the presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Hello? Hadi?
Yes, Mr. Faisal.
I'm done with the presentation. I just wanted to ask any of the participants had any questions.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
No, then I guess it was a good presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Faisal, for this great presentation, and see you again in our hackathon. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.